squadron, French squadron I bought last term was based here. I went 1, 2 combined with these squadrons, back out in the water for 3 and 4, and this is where he ends up. So we're going to see how this matchup goes here. My goal with the French army is to destroy the Prussian army before they can combine with the Russians. So, and went over the river, and I put Ney's corps with him, so he has like 100,000 men there, and we're going to be hitting most likely Rukl. Now, I would rather not hit every hex. We can just go for this battle here. Leader A, Brunswick, could reinforce this, just as Soult could reinforce. And then if Leader A did get into Val could, I can make it one big battle, only I don't trust that the Prussians will stay there and fight. They're just going to withdraw. These forces will get their move all intact. So I'm forced to attack everybody over the river. So Napoleon will start first with Rukl though. And then I want Soult to hit Leader A. And this is just part of Napoleon's system historically. Soult is not there to win the battle with Leader A. He's just there to pin him down. Devout is going to hit Hohenlohe. And over here, I ran Murat through because I want Berlin, because Berlin is their supply source right now. And if I take that, they're out of supply. But they do have Magdeburg here that I can't get. And so they could theoretically trace supply through these 2 strength units, and I wanted to leave them alone, because then they would just sit there the whole game once, I bypassed them. But I'm forced to attack them also, so Mermont has to attack those 2 strength points. I need to get rid of them, and if I have Berlin in this, then their supply has to come from Posen. And they either fight reduced, or they just start backing up, which is what I want them to do. But hopefully I can kill enough Prussians here, especially with starting with Napoleon, get a real good die roll and hit on Rukl. Now whether these go bad or not, Soult and Devault on Hohenlohe and Leader 0, it's not that big of a deal if I'm allowed to reinforce with Napoleon in that battle. And then all demoralizations will come off because Napoleon will have more men, and we can continue that advance. So either way, most likely you got to assume, unless you leave yourself vulnerable, the Prussians are going to keep withdrawing. So hopefully I can just kill a good amount of Prussians on this roll. So the battles didn't go that great, but Napoleon did crush Rukl and put 3 demoralized on him. So I thought I would just show you the thinking here. Now he only has 3 strength points left. If he reinforces with Brunswick, he can remove the demoralized, stay and fight. But again, that's only going to benefit the French. I think it's a bad idea. Leader A held his own against Soult. Hohenlohe held his own against Devout, and Mermont demoralized these strength points here and destroyed 1. And of course Murat took Berlin, Bernadette took Brunswick. And again, I think the question is just withdrawal. Now, if you stayed in this battle, or this battle, we'd have to roll for surrenders. If you withdraw, then you just withdraw, but the demoralization markers stay on because we use rule, that special rule J, I think it is in the campaign game. So there's the withdrawing forces. The one guy there that was demoralized went into Hohenlohe's hex, and he got to remove his demoralization marker. We only have like 3 forces on Soult, 3 on Mermont, but if they're attacked and they can hold their own for one, Murat, Devout can support, can reinforce, Napoleon can reinforce Soult or Ney here. So we're set up pretty good. And this force that's demoralized by 3 may lose some more men, but if you can see here, the losses were 7 Prussian infantry to 3 French infantry, 1 Prussian cavalry to 1 French cavalry. So not as good as I wanted. Really, the Prussians don't have a big army left already. They lost a man on attrition. You know, we're down to like 5 men right there, 2 there, like 3 there, 5 there, 2 there. So I thought the best thing for the Prussians to do, it is tempting to try to attack something, but what are you going to do? Just attack some French, kill a couple? But basically you're leaving yourself open for the French to get around and cut you off. So you keep the line, you behind the Oder River, nice defensive, again, position. The French have to attack over the river or try to do something else. And then of course, basically the Russians are going to be on the Vistula, but I did bring up a couple here further out just in case I see a chance that maybe we can combine the Prussians and the Russians next turn and attack. So I just brought a couple corps up, but the rest of the army's pretty much going to wait for the French there. So not much happening, and the productions were not doubled on any of those countries, and of course the Prussians lost Berlin, so they don't get any production. I think the Navy's pretty much status quo. I don't have to worry about England trying to sell around yet, especially that I got the fleet out there in the Atlantic. So the English have been pretty much bottled up yet. And me, as an English player, if this was happening to me, I'm okay with it. I'm still not in no rush. I've got the Prussians and the Russians still fighting my battles, still making the French lose forces. And in the meantime, I have time to see what's happening in the water before I have to make a move. Because, you know, to me, why force a battle and end up even losing it if I don't have to? So I wait for the critical moments. So we'll come back after the French move. Now, for the alliance table for the French, they control all the German minor states now. So that's 1. The Italian minor states is 2. Spain 3. France 4. And then they got a city point for taking Berlin. So they're up to a 5. And the English have 3 for Prussia, Russia, and England. So it's a +2 to the alliance table for the French, or -2, I forget which way it goes. But and I like to keep my army intact and supporting each other as I move up. I don't like to get cut off. I don't like to be entangled with the enemy and armies around. And I kind of fight both sides that way. When I'm fighting other people, they may not care and try to run around. And believe me, I fought a lot of people like that in many different games that are, in my opinion, chaotic. And they're dangerous because they can come up with these one-hit wonders. But for the most part, it's, you know, very unorthodox, and most of the time it won't win them the game. Anyways, I will attack. I'm attacking the whole line. Again, hopefully I can do better this turn and really destroy the Prussian army. As far as this morale force went, the one that was demoralized, you roll for it for the whole stack. You get to add its average morale and its leader, and if you can roll higher than a 9 or higher, you can remove 1 step of demoralization. So remember, they had 3, which went down to a 1. I mean, which you got 1 taken off, so it's a 2. Now I split up the cavalry because I had to block that bridge over there, over the Oder. So the demoralization goes with them. That's why both those forces demoralized. Of course, you know, Prussians withdrew. This force was lost here to Soult. Whether they surrendered or withdrew, they were going to lose their last strength point. The other demoralized force from Napoleon withdrew into Hohenlohe's force, which withdrew intact. So they were able to take their demoralization off. And the same happened with the 1 cavalry that was left there after Mermont. Now I did not advance with Merrimont into that hex, because it would leave them too vulnerable. Give the Prussians here a nice shot at them, and because at this point there really is nowhere more to back up. As a French player, you'd see that at some point they're going to hold the line right here, so I didn't want to put anybody out vulnerable. Now the Prussians still have 10 strength points left. It's still pretty good, but at this point, like I said, it looks like the big battle is going to be coming. The hard fight will be coming around this area. I've got 8 men here, I've got 5 here. I'll be having some more come from here, so I can get more men to the line. I may have to just slow down right there and get some reinforcements up before I run into the Russians. The Russians do have another 5 there and a 5 there coming in, but or we'll probably end up getting in a fight here, but I'm not going to try to push too hard. Let me get some reinforcements coming. Now I was very, very tempted to engage the French right here with the Russians, especially on this side of their army. I can probably do some damage, you know, kill some French, but that means only 2 Russian corps are basically going to be able to engage the French, but then the Russians will be engaged here at the Oder River. The supply line for the Russians are going to be about the same distance, maybe a little bit shorter than the French, but then we're engaged here. So really, we have to not be tempted to do stuff like that. If I'm, you know, I had to sit here and really think, if I was this Russian player right now and saw this happening, I would want to engage here in the Vistula River. This is where I want to engage the French. This is where I'm going to put up my fight. And I'm going to fight the French down to this Russian army gets beat, you know, pretty bad. So all this is going to take it on. But I want to engage the French here. So I will come back. I already did the attritions, alliance and everything. As far as the water went, the English stayed where they're at. You know, they're putting the onus on the French to do something. So we'll just come up with the moves here, and that will complete September. And then really there's only 1 month left, then winter sets in. So it's almost like me as the French, I'd probably want to take winter quarters here. The Prussians will probably do the same. You got to keep your corps down below 5 men, or you're just going to be losing men to our attrition. So what I did is I used the Prussians to kind of screen the French army out here and in the north, and then decided to hold Breslau. Don't give it up so easily. They can go inside the city. The French are going to have to take it, lose men to do it. And then I have some Russian corps lined up behind the tributary here of the Oder. So that's it. The rest of the army is we're probably gonna set up right here at the Vistula, but just in case the French want to engage here, I put a little reserve corps right there with Buxhowden. And this is about going to be the army when the fight starts. It'll be the French turn. So I just had the French go into basically winter quarters. They're behind the Oder. We laid siege to Breslau, and we'll see what the Allies do, but I may just take the next 4 turns in winter quarters and just come back in spring, because I think if the French are going to sit there behind the river, if I was the Russians, I'm going to try to find some good defensive positions somewhere and entrench and just wait for the French to come. Maybe I'll see. So I went through the 4 winter turns, and before we show you where we're looking for that, or where we're at with that, what happened was the French fleet had decided to engage the English that were blockading at Corona, and the French ended up losing, but all they had to do was retreat. 1 ship was damaged, and the English had 1 damaged ship. The English did not pursue. The combined fleet went to the closest port, San Sebastian. They repaired the 1 damaged Spanish fleet, and they came back out, And I just wanted to show you, we're going to try it one more time. The English are, the French in the new year were able to put a fleet in the French force pole and build it, as well as the English. Anyways, we want to see the roll. We are going to go ahead and engage this again. It's 4 ships to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's still 3 to 2, and you have to subtract 1 off the dice for the English morale. And here's the roll. And it's a 5, which becomes a 4. At 3 to 2. The larger force has 0. The smaller force is a retreat. With 4 ships, a retreat is 1 damaged. So the English are now forced to go to the closest port. So the nearest port, now this whole sea zone, the nearest port would be either here or Portuguese. Now, since the French won, they can pursue. And since we have 1 damage, I think we're going to pursue. And since the battle took place in this hex, the pursuing fleet is not at sea, so they don't get to add 1. And the roll is a 6, so they do intercept. So it's still 3 to 2. Let's try it one more time. You still have to minus 1 off the dice because they still get a 2 morale. And it's a 4, becomes a 3. Now we have the larger force is damaged with 4 strength points. So they will receive a damaged. The smaller one must retreat with 4 strength points, so it's another damaged. So the French actually win again. We're going to go ahead and damage a 2nd ship, and the Spanish will become damaged. So the damaged English fleets will go to Plymouth, and the French fleet stays at sea. But now the French have freed up 2 more ships and a transport. And that's very important to me because I want the Spanish army into Portugal. We want to start fighting here. So, you know, I had to keep them there because they were blockaded. If the English landed there, they can capture those ships. But now, I can free the ships and get them somewhere else. So anyways, we are starting the March turn. Okay, so I've done the French moves. I have 1 attack. Now I kind of opened up the French forces a little bit because I wanted to go ahead and get first strike on the Prussian army that was right there. And the Prussians have Blucher now, so it's 2. 1 more for the morale for 3, and then they're going to use a cavalry charge. So that would be a 4, and they have the entrenchment. It's going to be a 5. The French use regular French morale on the leader, so it's a 4. So it's actually have to minus 1 off the dice, but it is 2 to 1. And the roll was an 8, becomes a 7. Larger, nothing. Small, 1. So they do have to lose a cavalry. And what do you want to do? Morale's still intact. If we back up into any of these forces, you're going to have an attrition that'll be on the 2nd table, and you might lose a guy, but so what? If you lose a guy, you take off a Prussian, right? And a Prussian cavalry, so if you have to. So let's go ahead and even beef up Constantine here now. I think I'm going to leave Soult behind. 2, 3, 4 with all regular French. If the Russians want to come out and attack Soult, they can. I'm going to move Murat in. If they want to attack Murat, go ahead. We have Soult behind him. We have a nice line. We have to watch out for Cossacks coming around, but that's the movement. It looks like in history, the big battle, first battle went right here on the Vistula. It looks like we're going to follow the same thing. Again, if the Russians come out of the line to engage, then the battle's out here, which I don't know if I'm going to do. I don't know if I'm going to be forced out of my line. I like the line sitting behind the river. Only thing is he can double up and get a lot of forces on one hex. So I may want to come out and just double up my forces. You know, that might be the best thing. Like, I may come out and hit Murat and Devout with huge armies and just screen the rest of the army so they can't get around me. I might do that as the Russians. Time to start taking an offensive. So let's just take a turn here following all the rules. The English Navy. Yeah, see, we have 8 here. We only need 6. I'm going to go ahead and just leave 6. We're going to take Nelson and 2 English ships. And we're going to go ahead and move over to the damaged ones. We're going to pick up 2 transports. We're going to pick up 3 infantry, 4 infantry, Uxbridge, this whole column. And we're going to transport them. So we went Nelson 1, 2, 3, and want to come into Rome. Now, do we want to intercept with the French fleet? It would be 2, 4, it'd be 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It'd be 6 to 7. I'd be the larger. They would get 2. I'm going to let them go. Alright? There's still 2 damaged ships there. He can't repair them. I have 1 damaged ship in this squadron. Let's let them go for now, because I want to bring these out and combine them. So they're out. And now with Nelson gone there, that's a good idea to run that blockade. Alright? Let's see what happens. But Navy's done. Let's go to attrition. Anything but a 6 for the English, I would take it. We're good. And these are all in their home country. You don't have to roll for them. So our attrition's good. Production for the English. And they get a 2. There's nobody in the force pull. We do get to save an English naval. This guy ain't going to be able to repair right now because I got to move him. And then he'll... Once you move them, you lose that. So we're going to wait. We're good there. Let's move to the Austrians. Austrians double up. And I'm not going to worry about them right now. We got plenty of time to get them in position. But they get 4 men. We might as well make 1 a cavalry. Let's do the Russians. Prussians have no production. Russians. Attrition. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 7 in that stack. And he gets a 5. So you lose 2 and a cavalry if you got it. So the Russians lose 2 on our attrition so far. And that stack is going to be another issue. And it's a 3. And they're not in their home country. So it's just 1 though. We have 5 in every other hex, so anything but a 6. Good, 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 good. Every other one worked out. Let's roll for the production roll. 4. And they get 3 men. Well, after saying I wanted to wait behind the Vistula, I decided to try to, because I'm in groups of 5 because of attrition. If I stack up to about 10 each hex, then I can't cover the whole line. The French can try to do their little outflank, get the +1 on me. And I don't like that.
But I decided I would attack anyways, because if I attack, I can combine 2 corps, get a 10, and at least get 2-1 on the French. Even though their morale, their leadership may be better at some spots, at least I can get a 3-2 or 2-1 attack, which may favor me. We'll see how it goes.
That way I doubled up here, double 2 corps here, 2 corps here. And then I can attack this. So here's the battles. Because this one is not a river, I believe. Yeah, see the river stops, so you can go around that. That's why I did that. So those are the 3 battles. And then I still have a pretty good line here. So let's see how they go. First battle, 2 to 3. So the larger force, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to be 3 to 2. Larger force is the Prussians, and they get the +1. And it's an 8, becomes a 9. Large 1, small D1, and we have strength of 5. So it's 1 French. We'll lose the Bavarian. They become a D1. Second battle. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 against 5. So it's 2-1. You have 2, 3, 4. And we have 4. So 1-1. I mean 2-1. Even morale. 4. 1-1. Smaller force has 5. French lose 1. So it's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 9 against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 3 to 2. Well, they may not win. 3 to 2. And it's 4 to 3. So it's +1 to this dice. 6, 7, 8. Large nothing, small 1. And we know 5 loses a French. So that's basically why I wanted to attack with the Russians, because it allowed me to win these battles. The Russians didn't lose 1. They only hurt this one right here, battle number 1. But other than that, they got to attack. The French had lost 2 strength points. Actually, it was pretty much a draw. French lost 2 strength points, the Prussians lost 1, and the Russians lost 1. So that's the way the first rounds went. That's why I decided to attack, to try to get the odds more in my favor. So now it's up to the Russians to decide who withdraws. They will not. Devout will not. And Marymount will not. You know what? We're going to withdraw Murat. Now he's not cut off from supply, so I can withdraw him a hex. We'll withdraw him to there. Since he's demoralized, he cannot reinforce into another battle. Blucher can, however. So let's commit forces. Bagration's going to commit Blucher. And Blucher gets it. Now since he's not next to an enemy, Blucher moves into the hex. So they are now all with Bagrations into battle number 2. I think I'm going to wait on Constantine still. Let's reinforce with leader 0, come out of the city and help his siege. and he misses. Now the French. The French are going to reinforce with Soult. And Soult is in with Devout. Let's reinforce leader 0 with Merrimont. He misses. Let's reinforce lands to Devout. And he misses. And let's try to reinforce with the calf. Well, things aren't going so well. The cavalry reinforcement missed, this missed, that missed. Not going so well for the French here. This is the new rounds. Let's go ahead and start with the big one. We have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We have 18. We're going to use Russian morale and Russian leader for a 4. The French have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It is exactly 2 to 1. It's 2 to 1. 4 for the Russians and 4 for the French. Oh, let's see how it goes. And they only get a 4. Not a great roll there either. And it's 1 and 1 with the smaller force being 9. It's only 1 troop. 1 Russian, 1 French. Next battle. This one I decided to try to reinforce. Remember, the Prussians, they failed and all the French failed. So it's back to this. So it's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to 2, 3, 4. So it's 2 to 1. And it's a 3 to a 4. So add 1 to the dice. And you get a 9. D2. With 2, 3, 4 on that. You're going to lose 2 men. One's going to have to be a cavalry. You're demoralized by 2. So that one got hurt. The Russians lose 1. That's the end. Back to withdrawals. We're going to have to withdraw Merrimont since he's not out of supply. He goes to here. 2 demoralization. He's going to send Bucks Howden into the fray, and Barclay's going to stay here. So there's still only 1 battle going. Are we withdrawing? He says nope. And me, we're going to Russians are going to reinforce now Constantine to this battle. He misses. We're going to reinforce lands to this battle. And he gets it. 1 cavalry. 1 cavalry fails. So Constantine failed. Lands succeeded. But now that lands is in, the Russians can try to commit Barclay. And they don't get Barclay. Shoot. But Bucks Howden can. But you know what? I need Bucks Howden to hold on to that hex. So we're going to go for this round. Let's see what happens. We have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We have 16. To 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So it's 1-to-1. We just moved the odds to 1-to-1, and it's a 4 to a 4. And let's do a cavalry charge. So the Russians are going to get a 1, and they only got a 5, but they did a cavalry charge, which gives them a 6, and it's 1-1 with 13 on the table. So it's 2 forces. So they will lose a Prussian cavalry. 50% has to come off the Russians. So since they lost that, 2 come off the French. Where the Russians aren't withdrawing, we're going to try to commit. We're going to try to commit Constantine now. And they get Constantine. And Constantine can stay there. We're going to try to commit the cavalry from here, and we got it. Okay. Let's fight it. So we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. We have 19. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They don't quite get 3-2. So it's still 1-to-1. The Russians are going to commit cavalry again, and this time so are the French. So it's even up battle, 1-to-1. And it's only a 5. This time the smaller doesn't lose anything, and large is on a 1, which gives them 2 losses, and you have to lose a cavalry. Okay, battle's not becoming cost effective here anymore. I don't think we're going to gain. We're going to stop attacking. So the Russians stop attacking. The French can now counterattack. Let's see if we want to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15. It's 17-12. It's 1-to-1. He has 3 cavalry. I have 3 cavalry. I don't think I'm going to commit the cavalry. I think I'm going to try. We're going to counterattack. So the French are now going to counterattack in that hex. It's 1-to-1. I'm not committing cavalry. Are you? The Russians say, no, let's ride. Let's let it ride. See what happens on 1-to-1. But the French are still the smaller force. And it's a 5. Again, smaller force is nothing. Large, 1. And 1 at 12 is 2 men, ain't it? Wow. Let's go ahead and withdraw the Russians at this time. Take Bagration to there with that many men. Now let's leave Bennigsen. Let's leave Bennigsen to Constantine. Well, that was a huge battle, and that's what we were looking for the Russians anyways, is to try to, we almost came out completely 100% victorious in everything, but obviously we backed up on that one. We were just losing too many men, but we're not demoralized. The French have 2 hexes there to demoralize. They have to roll a 9 or higher to get that off, otherwise those men are going to have to be combined with other armies to get rid of their demoralization. So all in all, it's not a bad move on the Russians' part. Glad I did it. Glad I did it. Made things happen there. So we're going to say it was kind of a draw on the Vistula. First battle.